I got pros and I got cons about Joe Burrow here. I think it's good to start with the good. Um, the pro about having Joe Burrow, um, number one thing I have written here is he has great weapons. What do I mean by that? Well, if you know anything about the Bengals, you know that they are an offensive oriented team. They have two great wide receivers put around Joe Burrow in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And listen, man, I think T. Higgins is a wide receiver one. So they basically have two wide receiver ones that he's throwing to. He has options to throw to, and that will mean it'll get him a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns and a lot of fantasy points. Their wide receiver, or their number three, I don't know why that was difficult for me to say. Their number three wide receiver, I believe, is Andre Yoshivas, who is not shabby. I've watched Bengals games. I've watched a lot of Bengals games, and he, if given the opportunity, is a dirty dog. Don't get me wrong. So great weapons around him. He has Chase Brown, who I think is actually a better receiving back than people give him credit for. I think that little when Joe Burrow gets nervous and he just tosses it to Chase Brown, little move. I think he does that 5 or 6 times a game. And Chase Brown, if you look at his offseason training videos, that dude is working on catching and trying to be elusive after the catch. Like, I think it only gets better from here. Now, they better sign the motherfucking dude to an extension. Talking about Chase Brown, but that's for another video. So yeah, great weapons, meaning Joe Burrow is in a fantastic situation fantasy-wise. He has a lot of help. So, and I don't see that going away anytime soon. I see those receivers staying there for a long time. So Joe Burrow has a good bit of insulation there that he will have help as long as he's with the Bengals. Excuse me. No defense. This is something that I have thought about as to whether this is a pro or con, and I think it really depends on the team. A lot of people will make it seem like no defense is automatically just great for your fantasy offense. If you own a player on the offensive side of a team that has a bad defense, it's a common misconception or a common opinion of people that if your team doesn't have a defense, that you want to hold, or you want to have a share of some of their offensive players. And the reason being is that they're, quote unquote, always going to be playing from behind. Meaning, there's going to be a lot of, high powered, high action plays, which is true in a sense, but I don't think it can always be good. I think sometimes you run into a case where your defense is so bad that you don't get the ball on offense. Like, maybe you're just good enough that you're not allowing a touchdown on, in 4 plays, but it's still bad that you're not getting the ball back, and in turn the other team takes 10 minutes to go down the field. And I think that's bad for overall fantasy. And the good thing is about the Bengals, I don't think that's the case. I think their defense is even worse than that, and I think the teams will just score on them willy-nilly, and they will get the ball back. It is a little frustrating watching them do that. They'll get the ball back, and then they'll go 4 and out. But that's besides the point. I'm trying to keep bias out of this. I am a Bengals fan, so let's move on with the player analysis. But the no defense is a pro for Joe Burrow. I do think it'll lead to a lot of playing from behind, or at least tie game situations. So yeah. High ceiling. So, a lot of times you'll see the Bengals, they'll come out, they'll get 42 something points and they'll still lose, but that's a lot of points coming from his hands, and that's huge for fantasy. So the high ceiling, Joe Burrow himself, he will be tossing touchdowns left and right and has the potential to get 30-point weeks on a regular basis. Now I will come back to why that isn't always the case. I have that written in a con here, and yeah, we will come back to that. High touchdown share. If you're owning Joe Burrow, you're understanding that a lot of the points are going to be reliant on touchdowns. You're not getting, running plays from Joe Burrow, quite frankly. That's just not the type of quarterback he is, and he never will be. But the good news is that their running back, Chase Brown, right now is their only playable running back, and he's more of a receiving back. He's not a goal line punch it in type of running back. So what that means is every touchdown, for the most part, is going to be coming from his hands. He's going to be throwing it. I don't see Chase Brown getting a whole lot of goal line touchdowns stealing from Joe Burrow work. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a good high percentage share of the amount of touchdowns that the Bengals do produce next season in 2026 and beyond. So there are your pros. You get a high-powered, high-scoring guy, but I do want to talk about the cons that come with owning Joe Burrow. Number one, his coach. I think his name is Zach Taylor, little bald-headed dude. He sucks. I'm not going to hold you. He fucking sucks. I don't know how else to put it, but he is an infuriating coach to watch, and I don't think he's that smart of a coach either. I think that his level and understanding of the game is at an intermediate to elementary level, which is not what you want out of a coach. And I think the Bengals have been just good enough that it's like, okay, he's doing a good job. I think they'd be good with any coach. This dude does nothing special. So he is actually a hindrance to Joe Burrow. Number two, mobility issues. Not saying Joe Burrow is old and can't move, but I'm just saying he won't move. He's not a running quarterback, and you lose out on that. Let's say if you had a Lamar Jackson or if you had a Josh Allen or Jackson Dart, you know that even if they're having an off day passing, this dude is still going to be running and getting you fantasy points. If Joe Burrow's having an off day passing, you're going to have no fantasy points. And that's it comes into his inconsistency issues. Joe Burrow is a very inconsistent quarterback, in my opinion, and you have to live with that. You have to live with you're going to get 5 points. And sometimes it's tough to live with. I've lost fantasy weeks because this dude right here has put up 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 points in a week. And it's like, what are we doing? But, damn, those good weeks sure are good, and they make up for it. Durability issues. The damn dude seems injured every single season, and it's freaking frustrating, all right? Did I just say freaking? I can cuss. It's fucking frustrating, all right? Absolutely frustrating, because this dude, as I talk down here, he has a ramp-up period, and these injuries just reset that, and I feel like we're never seeing the full potential of Joe Burrow. Now, if you are going to own Joe Burrow, you best believe that you got to own, what's their backup's name? The old dude, Joe Flacco, the other Joe. So I think he just re-signed 1 or 2 years with the Bengals. So I think Joe Flacco has a very good sense of the game at this age, and you're not losing much, in my opinion, just because Joe Burrow isn't any more mobile than Flacco is. So great replacement, and Flacco will be tossing to these receivers, especially T. Higgins. He loves T. Higgins, so keep that on the low. The durability issues is a concern. If you're going to pick up Joe Burrow, you have to be worried that his durability is not the greatest. You have to have a backup in the works. His mental state. So I think Joe Burrow really does want to. I hate when I stutter, if you can't tell. Let's retry that for the second time. I think Joe Burrow is a winner, and he really, really wants to win. And the Bengals simply aren't cutting it for him. If you look at his face on the sideline, and this is some in-depth player analysis, I don't expect a lot of other people to notice this. He's frustrated. He goes 4 and out, and the dude's on the verge of tears coming off the field. Like, he is like this close to falling apart. And like even his press conferences, like he'll talk shit. He'll be like, yeah, man, like I don't know what our front office is doing, or like, yeah, our coach, yeah, he was kind of dumb. Like he'll just outright say it. You can tell he's not happy. Now he's getting paid, so he can't be that mad. But I don't know. There may be a near future where he wants out of this team, or even worse, he quits on the team mid-season. I don't think he's a quitter, but But I think the Bengals are pushing him on the verge, and I see his mental state just degrading. Very, very concerning. So that's the thing, is it's tough because they have a bad defense. Nothing to do with Joe Burrow, but that doesn't help the Bengals win. And as a Joe Burrow holder in fantasy, you want to see the Bengals win because that keeps Joe Burrow happy and keeps him producing. It's not good when you see them losing. You want to root for the team even though you just have a player. So owning Joe Burrow will turn you into a Bengals fan. Let's see what I've written here. Off-season concerns. So yes, it is 2026. It is April 1st. No, I'm sorry, April 2nd. Deep in the off-season. I have some concerns about Joe Burrow's offseason so far. And I'm not talking about the flag football. Yeah, that concerns me because the dude is this close to getting injured again, and I don't want to see it. The real thing that concerns me about Joe Burrow's offseason is these videos and reports and sneaky pictures that have been captured of him. He's been dating multiple different women. Like multiple, and these are not like regular women. These are famous actors or whatever, however these women got famous. I don't know. They probably got famous for looking good. But however the fuck these women got famous, Joe Burrow is obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, that's dumb. From a lady's standpoint, Joe Burrow is a good-looking dude, so he doesn't find it difficult to get these women. But it seems like these women have been flocking to him extra this offseason. I think he had a breakup with his last long term, and now he's just on a spree of just gorgeous models. And you may say, Lucas, why is that a problem? Let the man enjoy some female company and attention. I don't have a problem with that part of it. I have a problem with what he's thinking during this. When I see a man that is a professional athlete, that this is his job, just completely forgetting about his job in the offseason and going after just supermodel, attractive women and different women. Like every week at the casino, he's with a new girl. Excuse me, I don't know why my nose is running. Fucking allergies here. Back to the point. I am concerned about Joe Burrow. I think, quite frankly, the problem is I think he's addicted to pussy. And you may also say, Lucas, that's not a bad thing. That is 100% a bad thing. Joe Burrow is addicted to pussy, and it is going to, I think he's treading a fine line where this can get in the way of his actual performance. When all he's thinking about pussy, he's thinking, all right, what can I do to get more pussy? He's not thinking about what can I do to be a better quarterback and get my fantasy managers more fantasy points. He just wants the pussy. And he's good looking enough that he doesn't have to work too hard. And I think that is a slippery slope where Joe Burrow is going to be getting very, very complacent. I don't see the dog in him. He's already won. He's getting pussy. He's doing good. He's already getting pussy in the offseason. He doesn't have to perform well in the NFL to make the ladies more attracted to him. They already are. He's won at life. What is in it for him? He's got the paycheck. He's got the ladies. What is in it to him to be a better football player? That is a concern of mine. And I don't like to see it. I like to see a dude that you don't hear from in the offseason, and he comes back a dog. This dude is in the news for all the wrong reasons, and it's very concerning. Joe Burrow, get your act together, all right? You're 29, play 5 more years of football. The ladies will be just fine waiting for you, okay? Age, I spoke on it just a second ago. He's 29. Now, the good news is that's not that old. The bad news is he may be getting past his prime. 29 for skill position players is getting pretty old. For a quarterback, maybe not so much. I think Joe Burrow is a good archetype to play long. He's more of a Matthew Stafford type that can just continue to throw consistently year after year, no matter how old he gets. I see Joe Burrow turning into a Stafford type player as he gets older. But I mean, in Dynasty, it is a concern, and you're not going to be able to sell Joe Burrow for as much as you did maybe 2-3 years ago when he was considered an elite top 3-4 quarterback. The age is definitely a factor. If you want to get rid of him, this might be the best chance now, or your chances are only going to get worse from here, is my point. I think he's a hold. I don't think you're going to get what you paid for him in draft capital in return. Just hold on to him. Shit, he was a previous MVP candidate a couple years ago. Maybe he'll do it again. I don't know. Let's see what I wrote here. Damn, I can't read that. Ramp up period. You know it's bad when you can't read your own handwriting. Sheesh. Ramp up period. What do I mean? Joe Burrow needs a ramp up period to get to his peak. Do not expect Joe Burrow to be playing phenomenal or even mediocre from day one of the season. By week 8, 7, 8, I think is when Joe Burrow hits a sweet spot. Now, granted, he's not fucking injured by then. Man, I hate when I stutter. Granted, Joe Burrow's not fucking injured by then. If he can make it to week 8 or 7 of the season, then he is hitting his prime. He is in step, and I guarantee he will be playing at an elite fantasy level. You just have to suffer through the first 6 weeks of the season, which for a lot of people is just, quite frankly, just a big turnoff. Now, I know Joe Burrow. I've had him in fantasy in previous leagues before. I'm familiar with this, and I can accept this. But laying all this out, this is up to you guys if you want to accept this. I can see both ways. I laid out a good argument for him and a good argument against him. My opinion is Joe Burrow, I would be trying to get rid of him. And that's my personal verdict. So let me write that down. The verdict of Joe Burrow is sell. This is your sell high window. Not even high, sell medium. Just sell before the market crashes. If he has another injury-riddled season, whatnot, man, it's over for Joe Burrow. But I would sell him right now. Me personally, that's my take. If I had Joe Burrow, I would get rid of him and get as much value as I could and try to get a young running quarterback, take a shot on, I don't know, someone who has more rushing upside is just better for fantasy-wise. And it's not even like because Joe Burrow doesn't rush, it's like, oh, he's not going to get injured. He still gets fucking injured. It's like you're getting the worst of both worlds with Joe Burrow. So yeah, the verdict is a sell. The only time I would keep Joe Burrow is in a niche case scenario, which I'm actually doing this scenario, so I will be keeping Joe Burrow. But this is just, I'm saying overall the verdict is a sell. But there's a niche case scenario where if you are into fantasy stacking, so multiple players from a single team, I think Joe Burrow is actually very, very lucrative in terms of the fantasy stack. What I mean by that is if you can get one of the two receivers, Jamar Chase or T. Higgins, and you could have Joe Burrow, and this is where that's not enough. I need a three-way stack. If you could get T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, and here's the kicker. A lot of people don't think about this. The kicker is Chase Brown. If you can get those three, you have the keys to a high-powered, high-scoring offense that will get you a shit ton of touchdowns. And this is where that stack is really lucrative. And you may say, why is that any better than any other stack? Well, the Bengals are going to be coming from behind or tied. They're going to score a lot of points. And if you have those three players, every single touchdown that the Bengals score this season will be accredited to your fantasy lineup. Think about that. Joe Burrow will throw every single touchdown. Granted, if I told you to get Joe Flacco, you'll have him too, and he slides right into this stack. The quarterback of the Bengals, every single passing touchdown, you will get 6 points for that. If you have T. Higgins or Jamar Chase, that's a plus, because then they get 6 points. You get a 12-point play off of that. That's not a requirement, but it does help the stack be better, especially T. Higgins. I think he's more of an end zone guy than Jamar Chase. But the Chase Brown, every touchdown that Joe does not throw and instead gets ran in will be by Chase Brown. There's no other running back. Samaje Perine my ass, okay? Now, they actually do like him, and I will have some concerns about him. But for the point of this stack, forget about Samaje Perine. Every running touchdown will be, you can count on it being Chase Brown. So if it's running, you're getting the point. If it's a passing, you're getting the points. It is an all-around triple-decker stacker that you want to be a part of for the Bengals. Your fantasy team will blow up every once in a while, and boy, does it feel good. So that's my verdict. Either sell or get the stack with Joe Burrow. Leave a comment if you have any other talking points that you think I missed about Joe Burrow, and I will leave it up to you guys to make the final decision on what you think you should do with Joe Burrow. This is just my humble opinion. Thanks for watching.